You're watching the Health Now Nutrition Podcast, advancing our holistic and nutrition industry one story at a time. Presenting your host, Michelle Post.
Welcome everyone to Health Now Nutrition Inc. podcast and the Saved by Nutrition. And we have today our amazing guest, Nancy, who is a great supporter of the book Saved by Nutrition. So I'm just going to share a little bit about Nancy with you. And Nancy has a background in marketing and systems analysis. Nancy has saved millions of dollars for her clients around the world. As past managing director of YPO, which is Young Presidents Organization, and WPO, World President Organization chapters, Nancy had access to an exclusive arena that most of us do not even know exists. She shared events and masterminds with millionaires and billionaires while learning more about business, big and small. As an email marketing expert, Nancy runs two successful companies. You may have heard of a couple of these. Her primary company is Seeger Consulting Inc. And again, she's here because she is an amazing sponsor with Saved by Nutrition. So we're so excited to have her here. Seeger Consulting Inc. provides workshops, training to small business owners to gain the freedom of being an entrepreneur. Her clients relax while watching their business grow and the money flow. Nancy's technical and strategic support let them get back to a life with their family without guilt or pressure. Gosh, can you imagine? Yeah, you can. And secondly, Nancy is also CEO Squared and co-founder of Women Talk Events. You may have heard of me talk about Women Talk a couple of times, just a little bit. A franchise-based women's speaking group that delivers more than 14 live events per month, helping women own their stories and grow personally so they are empowered to grow their businesses. Super important. So if you want to get a hold of Nancy, you can visit her website at www.seegerconsultinginc.com. That's SEEGER consultinginc.com. Welcome to our show, Nancy. Woo!
So excited to be here.
Right? I'm so excited. I'm so excited that you became a sponsor for the book as well. And just to let us know, like, why was that important for you to sponsor such a fabulous book?
Well, the book itself and the messaging, what you're trying to promote and help grow in the industry, it's so needed right now. We need to understand the value of nutrition in our life. We need to understand how it impacts everything else that we do. And so from being part of Women Talk, and you know this, the more we share those stories, the more we learn from each other, the more comfortable it is for people to step into it, to dip their toe into it and explore nutrition and the value that it can bring to their lives. So for me, sponsoring the book was just my little way of supporting you and your valuable message.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And yes, again, thank you, Saved by Nutrition, and all the other contributors also. Thank you for believing in such a great cause. There are more people out there than just nutritionists that have experienced ill health and have actually been part of a movement of better health and such. So tell me about why nutrition is important for you.
So nutrition, my history is like a lot of the people in your book. You know, I started years ago, way before people were even aware of gluten intolerance and other things. And, 35 years ago, I started having health issues with gluten and other issues. And doctors, all they wanted to do was prescribe medicines. They did not have the information.
Right.
And it made me worse. Everything just seemed to make it worse and worse and worse. So I really struggled. And, I have two active boys. I mean, they're not boys anymore, but 35 years ago, they were little. And I went through everything from infertility to gluten intolerance to, finally was diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis and all of these other things. And of course, everything is just another prescription, another treatment. And so I took it into my own hands and, spent years trying to learn it all and figure out what I could do because there wasn't the resources out there to make it happen. I consulted with nutritionists, back 20 years ago. And even then, that was a field that was really tied to the medical field. So they were very limited in what they could assist you with. So it didn't get me quite where I needed to go. And I just kept looking, and I'm pretty stubborn that way. So for me, it was
in person.
Yeah, if you've met me, you know I'm not going to give up. But it was really limiting what I could do. You know, I'm kind of an innovator in that I started working from home when my children were small, when they went to school, which meant that, you know, I had to take care of a lot of things all the time. Busy mom, 2 boys, my husband traveled 50%. I could not afford for my health to not be good.
Yeah.
Right. And I have maintained for 35 years, some portion of it I've avoided prescriptions. I literally maintain it with nutrition and exercise and learning from smarter people than me to get me there. But people like you.
That's an interesting comment too, right? There's so much to accredited holistic nutritionists and nutritional consultants from across Canada who do have the education to know how certain things actually interact with the body. So,
well, you've seen my stack of books that I have on nutrition, right? Like I have tons of them. But you know what? It's not my zone of genius. I am brilliant at system analysis. I am brilliant at events. I am brilliant at a lot of moving pieces and connecting the dots. Nutrition, no matter how much I studied it, I couldn't get there. I could not get the results that I have gotten since I started working with you.
It's really interesting because we have a lot of people that in the book, when I was interviewing them in the very beginning, that also said that they didn't study nutrition themselves in the beginning. They tried to figure it all out themselves, and they had wasted decades of their lives, you know, trying to figure things out. When they finally actually decided to see a nutritionist, then it was within a year that things had changed dramatically for them. So great.
Well, and I think a key point there is to see a holistic nutritionist. Right? Because the body is a whole entity. And if you're just seeing somebody who only focuses on a tiny piece of it.
That's interesting. Yes. Because there are pros and cons. Of course, holistic nutritionists, we do more. We definitely do the whole body, mind, you know, psychology, brain work, mentality, you name it. So that is very, very different than what we see for modern society, medical systems. Absolutely. So, so tell us a little bit more about what it is that you do for people.
Well, so I have 2 very busy companies, as you well know. I am an email marketing expert and digital marketing expert. So with Seeger Consulting, what we do is help people implement the momentum into their marketing. Marketing is all about building momentum in your business and how you tap into it and how you repurpose things. And as entrepreneurs, we don't have time to do it all ourselves, but we can't afford to pay somebody to do everything either. So we have to get that momentum going really early and keep building on it. And so it's about teaching people how to build that momentum, how to build the foundation so that everything gets easier moving forward. And it encompasses, you know, obviously Infusionsoft is my zone of genius. That's really where I spend a lot of time. But it's any email marketing platform. We work with Constant Contact. We work with Active Campaign.
Wow.
It's about email marketing and about your websites, about how you put your website together and how you connect all these moving pieces to make it easier for you. And then just building out the plan for you. And of course, that's part of my life. And the other part is Women Talk events, which you know very well as a director for Women Talk.
Just saying.
And it is, of course, what I call my passionate mission in life to help women share their stories. I mean, you've heard some of my personal stories. My nutrition is part of that story. My
Nancy has some good stories, like how she got kidnapped and stuff. And I'm like, what the? And so I think it took me about 6 months to convince you to finally get up and share it. And you did it at, I think, the conference. And I was like blown away. I've known you for a year. And this story I did not know.
Oh, there's lots you haven't heard yet. But yeah, it is, you know, so Women Talk is about sharing stories. I am a firm believer that and this is why holistic nutrition ties into this. Everything you do, and we'll get to this in a little bit, everything you do in your body is about the energy that you create and the emotions that you carry. If your nutrition isn't good, if you're not active, if you're not happy and healthy and balanced in your life, all of those things effect, including the stories that we carry with us and the shame. So that's why Women Talk is my mission project. It is about sharing those stories and finding out how you are not alone, finding out how you really fit and walk in the world and owning them so you can get past them. And once you get past them, you're just empowering yourself. And everything you do to empower yourself helps you in, like, you know, as a holistic nutritionist, mindset, that personal energy, that power, it all comes from that. And so it's all part of it. Right. I can build you the perfect system in the world. I can talk you through anything, but if your mindset is not there and your commitment and you're afraid of things, or you don't want people to see you because of your story, you're never going to get there. It just can't happen.
It's what an amazing, amazing statement. So just for everyone to remember, we are talking with the amazing Nancy Seeger from Seeger Consulting and CEO Squared of Women Talk Events. And if you want to learn more about Nancy, you can visit her at her website at www.seeger, S-E-E-G-E-R, consultinginc.com. So that's an absolutely phenomenal statement that you had there, that you said about it. I've worked with several energy healers that are out there, and they've specifically said as soon as that they received the right, they got rid of the toxins from their very cells, started to receive the right nutrients, their downloads, and this is like what I said, their downloads came in like 100 times more powerful, 100 times more accurate than anything. So I love that you put that with the whole body-mind connection.
Well, and you know, it's one of the things I learned working with YPO and WPO. I came out of that experience. I spent 5 years literally in rooms, on boards with these millionaires and billionaires. And I came out of there determined. The biggest takeaway that I had from working with them was that the only difference between those millionaires and billionaires and you and I was their mindset and how they approach things, right? And so I spent years with a mindset coach, traveling to the States, learning mindset, doing all of that. And it could only take me so far. You know, it was only one piece of the puzzle again. You know, it's like the way I threw myself into studying nutrition. Right. It was only one piece of the puzzle. And it was not the complete picture. You know, and I mean, I'm a firm advocate of the miracle morning and, you know, your meditation and exercise.
Yes, you are.
I am. I'm really, you know, in depth in that. You know, there's the 7 steps there and visualization and affirmation and all of those things. All of it is wonderful, but no one piece of it works. And if you don't have the nutrition to balance your body and keep everything working, you can bang your head on any one of those pedestals, right, and it's not going to happen. It's absolutely just not going to move it.
So tell us a bit about the early times for you, about when nutrition wasn't as big in your life, when you were discovering it, and how your life was when you were feeling your feelings and symptoms.
Well, yeah. And so, excuse me. Excuse me. They,
talking cough, people, talking cough.
Yeah. Early on, I have active boys, and, you know, for me, the biggest problem was I would try and work from home, which was also uncommon back then. But I had been a traveling the world as a digital marketing, as a director of marketing for a computer software company, and literally stopped to stay home with my kids when they went to school. That was my priority, because I'd spent years, even before that, you know, in infertility. I was told I would never have children. Right. And that was all related to my health. And even years before that, I'd had migraines and other things that were caused by gluten that I didn't realize were caused by gluten, that I'd eventually worked out of my system. And I just kept working on these little tidbits here and there. And I was getting little pieces of it, enough to keep me going. But I was not functional. If I had got a migraine, I would literally need to lock myself in a room with a cold compress for days.
Wow.
I could not function, and you can't do that with small children. And my husband at the time, when I stayed home, he's an engineer, so he was traveling 50% of the time. I would often, you know, when I first came home, I worked from home for the company that I'd left, and I would often take my kids to school and then have to nap to make up for lack of sleep, lack of other things, because of the nutrition requirements, the inflammation, the fact that I just felt like I couldn't breathe, the fact that these migraines and constant, I know you've had health issues too, but when you can't tolerate gluten, it gives you extremes one way or the other through the digestive system. Yeah. So you always know where the bathroom is, because you never know what's going to happen.
Right.
and every joint hurts. The slightest bump or bruise is like a week of pain, and it's debilitating. It eventually wears down your emotional well-being. And I'd suffered with it all of my life. I was then in my 30s and had not found a solution yet.
Wow. So you've talked all the way around gluten intolerance, chronic fatigue, depression, arthritic and joint issues. And I think there was another one in there that is eluding me right now. But so because of this, without a solution, and the doctors just wanted to continue to give you medications without knowing what's going on.
Yeah.
IBS, IBD,
Yeah,
IBS. That's
yeah.
the other one.
And that's the thing. Like, I mean, I had been scoped and prodded and had laparoscopic surgery after my son was born for them trying to find causes. Like, they had literally done every procedure on me that they could. And it was like, there's still no answer. The only solution is another prescription.
Wow. Wow.
And
so were you at one point in your life like on a myriad of prescriptions at the same time?
no, because I'm an advocate. I refuse to take prescriptions. Even today, my doctor's always like, I know you're not going to take this, but I've got to recommend it. Like, yeah, no, I'm not taking it. Tell me a natural way to do this.
They got to do what they're responsible for, right?
Well, exactly. And I get that. And her and I have a great relationship because she knows that, you know, unless I am really sick, unless there's really something going on, there's no prescription going in my body.
Yeah.
And part of that stems from the fact that when I was a kid, I was like 8, 10, 12, 14. I had migraines so bad, and it was just gluten intolerance. And the doctor at that time, and I remember it clearly, he was prescribing something called Darvon 692, which I was told was like Tylenol, and I don't know if this is true, but a Tylenol extra strength is a 292 or something, and Darvon was the 692. So it was that kind of intense painkiller, just meant to knock you out to get you past the migraine. Didn't do anything but treat the symptoms. And I was like 12. I weighed like 75 pounds.
Yeah,
right?
You're tiny. By the way,
I'm
she's
tiny.
She's tiny. She's like this big, you know.
So it was really, really hard on my system because I would take these things and then I would be groggy for 4 days afterwards. But he wanted me to take them, get this every 4 hours till the migraine passed. Well, now we know about painkiller rebound and Tylenol headaches that come afterwards and all that kind of stuff. But back then, it was just do what I say and da-da-da-da-da.
Yeah, back then, that's all we did was listen to the medical system. I've got many stories about that, yes, and I asked that question because I myself was on 8 medications because we didn't think that there was any other way for us to help me when it came to my issue. So,
and my question for doctors was always, is this treating a symptom or is this treating the cause? Because if you can't tell me it's treating the cause, I'm not taking it. Yeah. If I need something for the symptom, I'll let you know. But I can usually do it with, some of the therapies that I use, which is a little bit holistic, but a little bit intensive. For my rheumatoid arthritis for 15 years, I have used ice baths.
Yep.
Soaking in ice water to take the inflammation down up to your neck. And everybody says to me, I don't know how you do that. You haven't lived through the pain that I've been lived through. And I got to tell you, it doesn't work the first day. You have to do a minimum of 3 nights in a row to make it work.
Wow.
And so I have to be in a lot of pain to put myself in those tubs. But when I reach that point, that's the only option.
Wow. So that's a big deal because I hate the cold. I may live in Canada, but I don't like the winter.
I'm with you, sweetie.
So if you're with me that way, then it's like, oh my God, the pain is bad. If that's what your go-to is.
Yeah. And that's the thing is it's because the rheumatoid arthritis for my body is systemic. I can put an ice pack on if I have a joint inflammation, but if I have systemic inflammation throughout my internal organs and just everywhere, which is what rheumatoid arthritis is, the ice bath is the only thing that takes the inflammation down. And it takes a few days and it's painful, but it works. And I can honestly say since you and I started working together, I haven't had to have an ice bath. So I'm really happy.
Because I haven't got back together with you about
and
I gave you all kinds of really funky things to do for your arthritis. There was some liver enzymes as well that was out of control, and the program that I put you on. So tell me a little bit more about that. I'm very excited to share that.
About the liver enzymes or about I'm sorry,
your experience with working
with the program?
Yeah.
Oh, well, so your program is really, really hard to start, especially for me, because my diet was so restricted. Right?
Yes. Yes.
It was extremely restricted. So for most people, that would be, the first 14 days would be tough. I loved it. It within about 4 days, I started feeling normal. I had almost immediately had no headaches. The inflammation was going down. The changes were unbelievable. And we started it in October, and we worked October, November, and then we didn't work a ton in December. We did monitor the program. We stayed on the program as much as we could, but then Andy and I, of course, went away for a month to Costa Rica, backpacking.
And what's my recommendation when you go away?
You say, throw the rules out and have fun, enjoy your vacation, but we didn't totally, we didn't totally throw the rules out because I had made such a difference in my life in those 3 months. There was no way I was willing to go 100% back, even on vacation. Like I couldn't do it, right?
You can because still make choices. While you're on vacation.
It's so easy to adapt once you get used to it. And we didn't take our weigh scale. We didn't do other things, but we made sure that, I mean, we were walking no less than 2 hours every day. We were hiking everywhere and climbing hills and, scuba diving and swimming. So I wasn't worried about it, but I have never in years, I've had issue losing weight. And both Andy and I went on it together. And of course, he always loses more than me. I hate him for it, but he does. And
I had to bounce him off of it really quickly.
You had to really quickly take him off of it.
We got to do this.
Well, even I wasn't the full time before we had to take me off because I'd already lost 10 pounds, which for me, again, is, I'm not a big person. So 10 pounds is a significant amount. And I've never gained it back. I really bounce. I have like a 1.5, 2 pounds, one lower to 1.5, 2 pounds higher that I kind of bounce around the mark.
Yep.
Just, depending what I'm doing. But I mean, even now I don't weigh anything on the weekends. Every weekend I stick to the program as much as I can, but I do not weigh things on the weekend. I don't get carried away. And it's the 80-20 rule, right? I mean, more than 80% of the time we're still on the program. We definitely increased our greens. We increased some other things that were, of course, your recommendation, and lowered some of the other things that we were eating all the time that we didn't know might be causing problems.
Right. Yeah.
But it was so much simpler. And now, I mean, Andy and I have tried everything. We've tried Atkins. We've tried everything over the years, right? To try and get things under control. He still sticks to your diet all the time.
Wow. That's
the exception is beer.
Well, and it's funny because Dr. Fun Fact, so this is the metabolic balance program that we are talking about. And Dr. Fun Fact is once you've hit your place, they do recommend a good beer every once in a while because of the nutrients that it has. So most likely stick to a stout if possible. But come on, it's Canada and we finally have some hot weather. Who doesn't want a Corona?
Well, not only that, but my husband, he's so active that a beer in his program doesn't really, and what he found is that, that the carbs and the sugars affected him so much more. So now he can have a beer and it doesn't have the impact on him because he didn't know before. He didn't know what was causing it. He couldn't adjust his diet. Now he can adjust things. So it's easy for him to control.
That is amazing. Oh, thank you so much for letting me know that because I wanted to know how things were going. We just haven't talked for a while, She's a busy girl. Super awesome. So now, how is it different? So when you started in October and things weren't 100% for you, and you were still suffering from some migraines and some arthritic symptoms and stuff, what is your, on a scale of 1 to 10, what's the difference now? And I don't know what 1 means and I don't know what 10 means. So
okay, so if October was, because after convention and everything where we were super swamped, I would say that if my health was a 1 to 10, 1 being best, 10 being worse, I was probably sitting at a 7 when I started working with you. I was desperate to get working with you. And like you say, within the first 3 weeks, it was already up to probably a 5 or a 4. And now I'd say it's just a 2 all the time. I don't have a lot of issues. I'm learning how to adapt the diet, but I haven't had an ice bath. I had some inflammation that came up this spring, and I think a lot of it was stress related. Yeah. So, because nobody's had stress this spring, right? But to give you an idea of the stress, not just COVID and other things, because I do online marketing and digital marketing for people, all of a sudden, everybody I've talked to in the last 2 years wanted to go online. Yeah. And wanted to know how. So my workload in the first 2 weeks of COVID doubled.
Wow.
And didn't slow down until the end of June.
Wow.
It's been crazy. I have interviews tomorrow again, hiring new team members just to keep things moving, because it's a happy stress. I love it. I love having this problem as an entrepreneur, and I know how to build the momentum, but it is about stress. So for me, I did have inflammation this spring, and it was stress related, not just COVID and not just, other things. But like I say, my one business almost disappeared because we're an events company and there's no events. So we had to adapt that and move it online.
Pivot, people, pivot.
Pivot.
There's no reason why you can't pivot.
You can always pivot. You can always pivot. And in fact, that was part of the thing that with Infusionsoft, because I'm one of the top Infusionsoft coaches in North America.
Yeah.
They did this whole thing where they gave access to their coaches, and Infusionsoft paid us to help companies pivot that needed to pivot.
Wow.
So there's a group of us, probably about 20 or 30 of us in their COVID coaching program, where Infusionsoft pays us to do these coaching calls and help companies pivot. And so, of course, that added, because you want to give back. You want to help people. I looked at all the ways I could do it, and there was so many ways I could do it, but this program just was the fastest way to get up and running and help the most companies. So my coaching, I went to doing extra coaching calls every day just to help these companies pivot who were in the software, and I knew the software really well, and I knew the system, but they were stuck because they had done live events or something else, and now they didn't know how to pivot.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's a lot of people that didn't know that they could. That there's many things that we could do. And so I just want to commend you for that, for helping people to learn their stories and share them in order to, and then of course, moving people forward to pivoting, especially during our time. So yes, lots of stress for many, many people, and ensuring that your health is as best as possible so you can still continue to do this amazing work that you're doing. So just absolutely wonderful work that you're doing for the world, Nancy, like seriously.
And seriously, it is with the most humble gratitude that I say to you, I couldn't do it without you. With what you did with Metabolic Balance for us in the last year. No, seriously, I could not have done it without you, because running these two companies, working as many hours as I sometimes end up doing just to get things happening, as a consultant, the work goes back and forth. You don't know what you're going to get tomorrow. Yeah. And, it literally, I could not have maintained that level of energy that many hours a day, for that many days in a row, like it's been since March 11th, if my health had not been in the place that it was.
Fantastic, because I have found as well, since we've been on lockdown, that my health, I actually haven't caught a cold, I haven't caught nothing. I've been so apart. What I do also want to mention is that with the work for holistic nutritionists and nutritional consultants, is that not only will they give you a program, but it's so specifically designed for you that I even had to take you off the exact things that MB had in order to address another issue that I knew how to do that is not part of the specific program.
Yes, and that's exactly true. Yes. And like I say, if I hadn't been for all of those things that you knew how to do, like I say, I've studied it for years and I couldn't get there. I could not get there. So it is with gratitude that I can do this because of you.
We're going to start the Mutual Admiration Club, people. So we're going to have to take that offline, because that's going to go on for another hour.
Oh yeah. Yeah. It's always going to happen.
Freaking love it. I just love it. I am so glad that your health is doing well, that your businesses are doing well, and that you are sharing your fantastic message. And for those of you who don't remember, this is the wonderful Nancy. Hopefully you can see her name in the little corner there. So Nancy from Seeger Consulting and Women Talk Events. And if you want to learn more about her, you can find her at www.seegerconsultinginc.com, and Seeger is spelled Seeger. So great to have you today and share your wonderful message. Do you have any advice before we go that you'd love to share with anyone?
Well, I think it's really important. I think one of the key things that I've learned over all these years is that your nutrition is the foundation that you're going to build everything else on. Much like I build digital foundations for companies, if you don't spend the time now, and that's why Saved by Nutrition is so important. If you don't spend the time now and build that nutritional foundation, then no matter what you're trying to accomplish, it's going to be exponentially harder.
Yeah.
Get that under control, and it will help you with everything from your anxiety, your depression, your pains, headaches, love life, whatever. Right. It's going to help you. And all of those things are part of living a whole and wonderful life. So I can't thank you enough for doing the book, for doing all of these wonderful things for people, and for helping me because like I say, I would have burnt out this spring if it had not been for you in this program.
Wonderful. Well, thank you again so much for sharing all of that. That's just absolutely amazing. So get your nutritionist, your nutritional consultant on board. Get your health going, especially now. Especially now. Your individual health affects everyone. So that's what's super important, to make sure that you're all boosted.
That's awesome.
Love it. So thank you again. And oh my gosh, I can't wait to see you again and have you back.
Yeah.
We'll share more.
Oh, yes. Always sharing.
Take care, everyone.
Thanks, Michelle.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
You've been watching the Health Now Nutrition Podcast with Michelle Post. For more information on how you can be part of the holistic and nutrition movement, visit www.healthnow.today to book your meeting.